Greetings and the best of salutations. That would be prayer, power, peace, patience, and prosperity. Trying to fulfill many obligations. My first duty is to myself. Second duty is to my family. And third duty is to a community of people whom I am involved with. And as well as those whom I may interact with. I'm becoming more broader now, as well as those whom I may be indebted to, as we are indebted to each other. And that also deals with friends as well, that which we call friends, and even associates. In the English alphabet system, the capital letter is A, and how it is structured is like an A frame, and it has two legs and it stands on its own 2 feet. Basically, when a child comes out of his or her mother's womb, comes out, and I'm no doctor, but for the most part, you would like to lead the way with the head. And then when the child crawls, he crawls with the head in front. And when he stands up, the head is on top. Interesting when it comes to life experiences. The past, the present, and the future. The oneness of them. When I think of oneness, I think of, in the suffix sense, the word ness is the state, quality, and being. The condition of the quality of the being. Nina Fuller says something. The brother said that we must come together and give each other constructive value. I started off by talking about fulfilling obligations. Also, I realized one of the obligations, personal obligations, is to be able to manage my feelings and my emotions. The second obligation is dealing with managing my thoughts. The third obligation is my attitude. The fourth obligation is the words that I use, the language that I speak. And the fifth obligation is my behavior. Yes. Is there a model for me to follow? If not, I must do my best to try to come into that myself. Obligation is also associated with ethics, being ethical, or being a part of a what they call an ethic group. One of the things I found out is that when I mean we, it could be family, it could be friends, it could be associate, is that there is a tendency of ours to hold on to the past and not deal with the present, and that will push you forward for the future. And when it comes to obligations with self, family, friends, associate, and the community in which we may interact with. And there may be a time that that community is no longer a community, and that the family is always there due to blood. Needless to say, but yet you may move on to that family and connect with another family and connect with another community who knows the importance of fulfilling the obligation one for another, because they are not they don't know you coming into them, then they get to know you, then they don't carry the past of your past. They don't know it, so they don't judge you based on your past, if I may use that language. There is a automatic distorted thought called judgment focus. It says that when you view yourself, others, and events in terms of evaluations as good, bad, or superior and inferior, rather than simply describing, accepting, or understanding, you are continually measuring yourself and others according to arbitrary standards, and finding that you and others fall short. Lack of accountability, really. You are focused on the judgment of others as well as your own judgments of yourself. For example, I did not do well in college, or if I take up tennis, I won't do well, or look how successful she is, I am not successful. So this is what I'm talking about when it comes to being successful. When one invests in his or her own soul, and when it comes to each individual investing in his or her own soul, and we are investing in each other, because when you are in a relationship, you are there is an investment. Now, it says in religious texts, accept the criticism from the criticizer. Okay? I've been called several things that stick out. This is almost kind of personal. And I may have said some things that was inappropriate and that offended someone. And it wasn't called to do that. It wasn't necessary to do that. That which I seek forgiveness for. Trying to fulfill my obligation of first investing in myself as much as I can with my family. Now I'm saying as much as I can, and with those who I interact with, we are a part of a community when we're working together to be one. And it is to feel our obligation of investing in each other. I was talking to a gentleman and trying to further advance the mission, which is to promote the value of self-worth. Trying to network and interact with people who can help. And the gentleman was saying that he was interacting with other folks that he considered to be someone that is similar to I, or the people that was similar to what I was trying to, what he perceived what I was trying to accomplish, which is to open up a center. Just leave it at that. And the way that I was expressing myself, and I heard his frustration. That, man, he mentioned the word, y'all rogue brothers. And as I say, society is under social reconstruction where our feelings are becoming desensitized, our thoughts demoralized, our attitude dehumanized, our communication devitalized, and our activity destabilized, which I say that we're dealing with a spirit of apathy, because I conclude that one's true purpose is to move from sympathy to empathy. But yet, based upon my past experiences or my past and where I'm dealing with in the present, is becoming more complicated to connect with others when it comes to making this become a reality. And it also happens to do with being judgment focused. And so I, and maybe some of you, must not be judgment focused on yourself as well as others. So yes, so when I listened to him, and I said, the reason why I cite that, because the desensitization, which means people say things and it's said out of frustration, and you don't necessarily mean that it's so, but out of that frustration, I could overlook it at that moment in time, because it really didn't register to me. It didn't register to me until after the fact, what he said, which means it's like you react as opposed to respond, meaning you react because there is something that is an underlying factor that you just not have dealt with it. You didn't know how to respond to it. So it should have been dealt with earlier. And I think there are challenges in this culture, in this society, when it comes to who and what determines success, and who is best way to define that, and how it is to be measured in the model, the ideal model of what success look like. Religious people have their model, and business people have their model. Politicians may have their model, and then that model becomes celebrated. But the ideal model of success is in these terms, in its reality, is that we invest in each other. The universe is a benefit to us all. It gives us the light, the air to breathe. It is a utility. That's the best example for success. You look at the sun, the moon, and the stars. They're independent of each other. Interdependent, which means they work together. They are in harmony. Some may want to argue differently, but they're there. They're there. So the word rogue, as it defined, a dishonest or unprincipled man. I don't think that's the case with me. Do I think or do I know? The word scoundrel and villain. Now, there is a teaching about the sheepdog who takes care of the sheep, the flock. He forgets that he's a dog, yet while at the same time the sheepdog only gets his value based upon the perception that is given to the sheepdog by the master of the sheepdog. You think on that for a minute. So it says that while driven away from a part of the herd or having savage or destructive tendencies, remove or a defective, something that is defective. A defective specimen. Is that what this particular individual was sharing with me, and how he brought me in to be a part of people whom he has interact with and out of his frustration? Because remember, an unfulfilled frustration, unfulfilled expectation breeds frustration, and behind it is a spirit of deceptions. So that which he saw in me, maybe that's what he really saw in himself. But he put that in me, and then when he saw that in me, so he would come at me in that way. Because when another individual see you as a defective specimen, they see you of no value because they see themselves of no value, then the natural human tendency is to downplay you, or will go to the extreme of killing you. Yeah, that's why I say we can agree on the surface, but beneath the surface, we're at odds with one another. So that's why I say we are reacting because we don't know how to respond, because we're not dealing with the earlier things, which is, okay, for example, one could be raised up in the family and there's child abuse and there's child neglect. So at an early age, you may have had the basic necessities of life, and you may not have the child abuse, but some has had the child abuse. But yet the neglect is that you didn't get the mental and emotional attention that you need. So all these things is playing out. So now we are just currently, we're reacting, we become easily offended, and that which we did not get, we take it out on someone else. Okay. accept the criticism of the criticizer. Makes sense to me. But these are associates who you may have not come to know. You may have come to know family, friends, people whom we interact with. I was riding with a brother, and I was seeing how at peace he was and how he evolved, complimenting him as we were complimenting each other, giving each other constructive value. It is our obligation. I would use this. It is our obligation to give each other constructive value. That puts us in a better position that we be able to best manage our feelings, our emotions, our thoughts, our attitude, what we say to ourselves and to each other, as well as our behavior. So then I was called another term, a snob, snobbish, almost like an elitist attitude. Let's say a snob, a behavior of a snob is a person who imitates or cultivates or admire those with social rank and wealth. I try to fight against that which I deem to be properly misused. I promote the value of self-worth. The mandate is to cultivate the potential of knowledge that is in us all. The motto is to communicate through 5.5 channels of communication. 5.5: understanding, tolerance, temperance, /temperament, confidence, and respect. I say that once I approach it, I have a 5-star approach: understanding, tolerance, temperance, confidence, respect. That the end result is to restore social credibility. The end result is to readdress social diversity. At the end result is to revive social coherency. At the end result is to replenish social continuity. At the end result is to reclaim social solidarity. What are you doing? All I'm saying is, if we just learn our obligation and stick with whatever that obligation is, and don't impose that on others. Don't hold each other's, try not to hold each other's past against one another. It would be a better future. It would be a better world. And I'm not saying, because certain religions said that it saves people from being extreme. That we become a villain to each other. We become enemies. And the open enemy to all of us is being unable to control our instincts. Yeah. That's supposed to distinguish humans from what they call animals. Even though some would say humans are animals, because animals come from the word animation, that which gives life, and that which gives life is a personification of something. It personifies something. So something that is condescending to each other. It's like a person who pretends to have social importance. Okay, let's pause there. Because we see what this technology does to us. It makes us to pretend to have social importance. So it is the social that was happening here. It's social importance. Because slavery was a thing of status control. He or she who establishes the economic relations will determine the status of that relationships. Social important. So we pretend. So we can go and attain certain things in life. So we got to stop pretending. So that which is the need for self-importance. Intellectual superiority. Someone has to be inferior in order to make you feel superior. That I am against that. I am against. See, I realize under certain teaching that we were born the same with the same faculties, the same consciousness. It's just the difference is the manner in which we use it. I say I operate as a social health engineer. I try to socially counter that type of behavior, or when it comes to one's, in order for one to feel superior, he had to make another feel inferior. I mean, history, people have come. I mean, even in America, I'm talking about American history, and I just use American history that it come to restore the dignity in people, because we all was born with nobility and dignity. Anything else we just learned along the way. Pull out those noble traits, and that's all. That's all. But a snobbish person, when how a snobbish person is described as a person that they disapprove of you because you think gives the impression that you're a proud person, or too proud of a person, proud of. And it'll be getting into some under this here now, some under this, proud of your social status. So now we're dealing with envy and jealousy now. That's why I say earlier, we can agree on the surface, but beneath the surface, we're at odds. So we're in competition with each other. That's hey. See, we're born to contend an environment which we know nothing about. So, but it's like you have to seek their approval, another's approval, and you're not obligated to seek no one else's approval. But people will try to put you in a position because they will call you these names because they have to approve it. So what it represents is a dislike. And I'm not going extreme with this, is that there are good points, or there are times when people will know the importance of investing in each other. But to what extent on a consistent basis that we do so, because there are times when we leave the door open by judging each other by arbitrary standards, by us being judgment focused, and us not fulfilling our obligation to ourselves, our family, maybe the community, or those are community people whom you interact with, put it that way, and the obligation of managing one's feelings, one's emotions, which is designed to restore credibility, our thoughts, which is designed to readdress social diversity, to manage our attitude, which is to revise social coherency, to be clear, and then to manage. I say what we're saying to each other, and what was the other one? Our thoughts, our feelings, our attitude. Yes, and what we're saying to each other, which is to replenish the continuity of our confidence in cooperating with each other rather than being uncooperative. And the final is to respect, and that is to reclaim the social solidarity, and that is deal with our behavior. It is our obligation. Approach it progressively, universally. These obligations, progressively, universally, holistically, comprehensively, and conscientiously. Yes, when it comes to fulfilling an obligation or obligations for me personally, and this embodies me, and you and many of us have obligations that they personally have, that they are going about trying to fulfill. Yet I have 3 core values. That's opportunity, expression, and appreciation. There's no model for me, so this is that which I must come up with for myself. So have I been successful then? Not at all. That's extreme, isn't it? Because I know I have a long way to go. Because the best project that one can work on is him or herself. Until the next time, talk to you.